I catfished my crush 3 times on Tinder before revealing my true self to him, and to this day he doesn't know about it. So a while back I knew a guy who didn't know me. There was no way for us to interact, and I found him very interesting from a distance. We studied together in the same college for a year and online during COVID, so there was no way for us to interact. I knew him way before college, and I always thought we'd vibe together. Didn't necessarily like him, but I was very interested. When I got bored, I'd open a fake Tinder account just to browse and see who's on it from my town, and one day I found him on the app. I decided to swipe right on him, which was unusual because I'd never do that, but an impulse in me pushed me to swipe right. We matched, and from the very first second of us talking, I was hooked. It felt surreal. He was everything I imagined. We talked for 3 hours, but it felt like 3 minutes. I got scared off and I stopped talking to him. I even deleted my account after we unmatched. It felt like I was done, but I couldn't get him out of my head. The whole day I was thinking about him nonstop. It happened momentarily. So 2 days later I decided to make a whole new fake account with new pictures, and I curated a whole personality type for that account. Now you may ask, why not be myself? As an introvert, I was terrified of him knowing about me, so I wanted to admire him from a distance. Basically, with that account, we talked for 3 days nonstop, and it felt wonderful. Day and night, I discover more and more things that I loved about him. The more he'd talk, the more I'd see him as absolutely perfect, which was something I've never felt before for anyone ever. 2 days later, it hit me that whatever I am doing is wrong, and I deleted my second account, hoping to never interact with him again. But this time, he'd haunt me in my dreams. I saw him in my dreams. Thoughts of him became all-consuming, and I was stalking his socials all day without him knowing. So one night I opened the third account on Tinder to catfish him. I swiped right as usual. Started talking to him from scratch. Heard stories that he told me already and reacted like it's the first time hearing, and we talked for a week. This time, he suggested that we meet up, and I rejected. He was such a gentleman that he didn't even suggest that we move to another texting app. I lied to him that I am uncomfortable moving from Tinder to elsewhere. So one day, he finally caught on to the fact that I am catfishing him. He reacted badly, told me that he got emotionally attached to someone who doesn't even exist. I felt like shit. Then finally, 2 days after that, his thoughts of him were haunting me again and again. I finally decided to give in and sign up with my real name. Guess what? We matched again. At first, everything was fine, but then he suddenly became suspicious. He told me that I remind him of someone. The way I talk is similar to girls he had interacted with on Tinder. He even told about those catfishing incidents and had no idea that it was all me. I felt like shit, but I was a teenager that was very much into him by the time he knew my name. I brushed it off, and he quickly forgot about those incidents. We talked for months on end, for hours in a day. That was years ago, and I still think about him. What happened after is a totally new, different story. But to this day, he has no idea what I did to talk to him. And now to the next story, story 2. I'm uncomfortable. So for reference, I live in an East Asian country, and I'm originally from America, Asian American, and today I took a one-day class at a wood carving studio by myself. Before going to class, I saw the post on this hobbies app and saw that the main pictures for the class was a woman, so I thought the teacher would be a female. However, it was a male. That's not my problem whatsoever. I don't care about the gender of the teacher, so I'm writing that here for people who think I just hate all men when I really don't. So he opened the door and I saw this couple also taking the class, but at an earlier time, so I sat next to the couple for around 30 to 40 minutes. The teacher went around to both the couple and myself to make sure we were doing what we're supposed to, and didn't really make much small talk until I told him that I'm from America because he asked what my job was, and I told him I was an English teacher. And me making small talk, I mentioned that I was from America, and that sparked his interest, and he kept talking to me. Once the couple left, it was just me and the teacher, and even then the conversation wasn't awkward but just regular small talk. But then he asked if I had siblings, and I told him I had 2 older brothers, and then he asked me what my parents do, and I tried to be vague and said my dad does business, but then he asked me what kind of business. Stop here. I know what you're thinking. If you just ignored his questions and said something, he probably wouldn't have kept asking you questions. It's your fault for answering each question. I know, and I'm angry at myself for that, but I couldn't think and was taken aback by everything he said because after that, I gave him a vague description of what kind of business my dad did, and then the teacher asked if I was married, and I practiced in my head that if he were to ask me about my relationship status, then I would lie and say I have a BF. But alas, I got nervous and said I didn't have a BF, and then he says that he's never had a GF and that he's lonely, and up until then I thought he was joking. But after some talk, he suddenly goes, "I'm really having fun talking with you. It's been a while since I had this much fun talking." And then I just smiled and said, "Oh." And then he jokingly goes, "I don't want you to leave. I'm going to lock the door and make sure you don't leave." And that's what freaked me out. He said it while smiling, but to me it didn't sound like a joke at all. I tried to stay calm and didn't say anything or react and focused on my project and stopped asking and answering questions and just focused. He would try to talk to me from time to time, but I would give him the cold shoulder and just nod my head. Then he asked me my age and I told him my age, and then he asked me to guess his age, and being nice I said 35 to 36, and he's shocked and says, "Actually 10 years older than that." And I was shocked, and not in a good way, because I'm 27 years old right now and he's 45 to 46. And he kept saying how much fun it is talking to me and how lonely he's been feeling, and that's not what most teachers would tell their students, especially for a one-day class. And then he said, "I don't have money to get married or anything." And I didn't know what to say to that. Like, how did he want me to respond? So I awkwardly just turned my head, and my only thought was, I need to get out of here. And after I left, he told me to come back again, and I just awkwardly smiled and went on my way. Then I called my brother to tell him what happened, and as I was telling him, I got a message from the teacher through the one-day class app saying, "Thank you for coming, and I hope you have a great dinner with friends." Because I lied and said I had plans with my friends and needed to leave by a certain time. Most teachers here don't do that at all. Most interactions like this don't happen unless you're on a date with someone here. Why am I sharing this? Because I just needed to let this out. I was so creeped out and didn't know what to do during the time I was there. I was afraid if he put something in my water or slid something into my bag or bugged my phone, because I had to go to a different room to sand my project and left my phone and bag in the other room. I checked my bag and phone and nothing weird or nay, so I'm glad about that, for now. But yeah, I just wanted to get this off my chest. It probably sounds different through text compared to if I said this out loud on a call, but this happened today, on my Saturday. A little sad, but I'm home, and that's all that matters. Next story, story 3. I was catfished for a year, and I finally accepted it yesterday. Man, this sucks, but I think I'm just gonna yap for a bit, because yesterday I finally accepted I was catfished. Back in April of 2023, I met this girl online. Let's call her A. Now, I was dumb and just looking for friends when we started talking, but I can remember exactly how we met. She commented on a post and no one responded, so I replied, and we kinda kept talking, and eventually I DM'd her. At the time it went by an alias, Idrik, if it's her real name or not now that I think about it. But it was E. Now that should have been red flag number 1 for me. Anyway, her and I really hit it off. We became super close, and eventually I developed feelings for her. We're the same age, DW. And as time progressed, her and I became closer, and she told me she felt the same way about me, too. It felt like I was on top of the world in that moment. My heart was beating so fast, and overall this was the girl of my dreams, basically. She was nice, caring, funny, and just everything you would ever want in a girl. Now, me being dumb and not picking up on red flags, decided to start a relationship with her, even though I never saw her face once. Basically, to make a long story short, over the course of a year, she ghosted me / we broke up 16 times. There were times too when we weren't dating and she just randomly ghosted me. And she cheated on me twice, that I know of. But everything just felt better when I was with her, so I tolerated the on and off again. One key event that led to our ultimate demise was her randomly changing her PFB and going, "Oh yeah, that's me." You're never gonna believe what happened next. I did some digging and found out it wasn't actually her. Shocking, right? Pause for your audible gasps. Anyway, I confronted her about it, and the response I got was, "Okay, so," which led to a big fight and me breaking up with her. That was the last time we ever dated. A month after that, she randomly texted me, "I still love you," which wasn't out of the ordinary for her, so I was used to it but wasn't looking to get back together with her. So we got into another fight because of it. After that, her and I hadn't talked for a bit until she texted me once again that she still loved me. I told her that I had a girlfriend and that I wasn't interested in anything she had to offer at the time because I was over it. But we did eventually come to the agreement of being friends. Over the next week and a half, we were doing really well as friends, and then she just randomly told me she loved me again. I'll admit I kind of walked into that one by being friends with her again, but I got it all sorted out and set some boundaries, and then she just ghosted me again like a day after that. So yesterday she messaged me and goes, "What's with your bio?" And I told her the truth. It's just a quote from Daisy Jones and the Six. Anyway, we started bickering for a bit because I was kind of pissed off that she would ghost me and then come back asking some random ass questions. Then one thing led to another, and she started listing off all the reasons that we would never work out, and then she hit me with this goldmine of a line. I'm not even, insert country I live in. I really had to take a second to process that because all the red flags and evidence that I had been ignoring before that and hoping that they were just coincidences started to just slap me in the face. And I would like to state that she told me multiple times that she was from the country I live in. I don't know what the point of this was. I just needed to get it off my chest, but it just sucks. Knowing that my relationship was built off of lies and misinformation just sucks. I don't know. I was naive and dumb, and looking back, I should have never trusted her in the first place. I really wish I hadn't been lied to. YKBC, I really did like her, but safe to say I will never ever be doing that again in my life. Anyway, thank you for listening to me rant. If there's anything you take away from this, it's to never trust anyone you meet online. Now the last story, story 4. No one told me about my brother's passing. I've been away from home for the past few months due to my studies, sadly. The last of my important exams were recently, and the second I finished, I headed straight back home. I'm the oldest of 7 siblings. I love them all to death. They're like my own children to me. My parents were rarely home, so I was never really that close to them, unfortunately. On the other hand, I ended up being extremely close to all of my siblings. For most of my siblings, my youngest brother included, they were handfuls, but I put them to sleep as babies and got their bottles ready. I got them to try new foods. I was there when they took their first step or spoke their first words. I bought them their clothes when they ruined theirs. I helped them get school projects ready at midnight when they were due the next day. I helped them with homeworks. I took care of them if they were sick. I got their food and school lunches ready. I got them ready for school in the morning, and I love all of them so much. No matter how much I've acted annoyed by how much of a handful they were. When I got home, only 2 of my siblings were there. They said my parents and the rest of my siblings were out at a park or something and would be home soon. I was exhausted from the long travel and couldn't help but go straight to bed. One of my siblings woke me up for dinner later. I went down to sit with them, chatted with everyone and hugged my family, and caught up as everyone gathered around for dinner. When we sat down, I noticed one of my siblings wasn't sitting with us. I called them and all my siblings looked at me weirdly. When I asked about him, they looked beyond confused and asked if I was okay. I was confused. They were confused, until my little sister just blatantly mentioned he passed away. I thought it was a joke, because it felt insane. I didn't know how to react. My dad took me away and basically explained that he got sick and passed while I was away, and that they couldn't tell me because it'd affect my exam performance, and that they were planning to tell me about it in private. How the FCK do you react to that? I was genuinely at a loss. What do you say? What was he expecting me to say? We argued back and forth for a while, because I wasn't convinced. Then again, this isn't the first time they've done something like this. But that was when I was a child. I went up to my room and cried myself to sleep. I felt like an awful sibling. I wish I hadn't turned him away all those times. I wish I had baked him more sweets or taken him out to the park more often. It's been a few days. I haven't talked to my parents since. I feel so alone. Everyone got over him months ago, but it's still fresh for me. They already got rid of all his stuff. I didn't get any of it. My mom has tried to talk to me in so many ways, acting guilty, saying I'm going to starve up in my room, saying it's already been months. I feel alone. The rest of my family has been able to go about their lives completely fine. I haven't. At the very least, I wanted to see him in his last moments. No one tried to reach out to me and tell me. No one told me he was sick. The past months when I'd ask my parents how my siblings were doing, they'd say they're doing great. Results are coming up in less than a month. All my relatives are excited for my results except me. I'm dreading the event when they do come out. I don't know if I could handle it. I'll be the only one down at an event centered around me. I feel lied to. They say it was for my own good, but I don't get what good this does. I'm grieving alone and I just have no idea what to say. I've never felt like this before, and I don't know what to do.